AITA for selling our ancestral cabin the moment my cousin confessed she needed the money more than I did? Background. My grandfather, bless his soul, was a complicated man. When he passed away last year, he left his beautiful, secluded lakefront cabin, the single most valuable asset he owned, to me and my cousin Chloe. We were always close, spending every summer there together as kids. It felt fair, though logistically complicated. The arrangement was simple. Neither of us could force a sale without the other's consent. If one person wanted to sell, the other had the right to buy them out for a fair market price within 90 days. If the deadline passed, the cabin would stay shared. Fast forward 6 months. I was hit with a truly awful diagnosis. Nothing life-threatening yet, but it requires a very expensive, experimental treatment not covered by my insurance. I was desperate. I needed to cash out my 50% share of the cabin, which was easily $250,000, immediately. The conflict. I went to Chloe, explained the situation, and asked if she would consider either selling her half to me, impossible, I needed the cash, or agreeing to sell the cabin outright, so we could both walk away with life-changing money. Her response was shocking. I can't, Olivia. The cabin means too much to me, she said, her voice dripping with fake piety. Grandpa built that for our family. Selling it to pay for some elective treatment is selfish. I'm sorry about your health, but I simply won't agree to let you profit from our heritage. She completely stonewalled me. She refused to buy me out, refused to sell, and refused to even talk about a compromise. She essentially held my $500,000 hostage while I stared down staggering medical bills. I tried everything, lawyers, mediators, emotional appeals, but the will was ironclad. No sale without mutual consent. Chloe started posting idyllic photos of the cabin online, talking about preserving memories, and even hosting a small, annoying Save the Cabin fundraiser, painting me as the villain trying to destroy Grandpa's legacy for greed. The twist. I was drowning in anxiety, but my lawyer found a tiny, overlooked detail in the trust documents that governed the property. It was buried deep in an appendix, under the technical definition of co-ownership. It turns out Grandpa knew we might fight. The initial will did state that we co-owned the cabin and the land, but a codicil, a handwritten note he filed with the official documents a week before he passed, changed everything about the land. The codicil stated that the deed for the cabin structure was indeed split 50/50ths. But the deed for the acreage, the docks, and the private lake access, which made the cabin worth the full $500,000, was left entirely to whichever of us could prove they had maintained a closer connection with him in his final years. The judge overseeing the will, who was also a family friend, interpreted closer connection as whoever had possession of his last gift to us. Grandpa's last gift to Chloe was a small, antique music box she'd always loved. His last gift to me was the key to the garage. Inside that garage was the official, original land survey map, which he used to trace the exact boundaries of the property. The judge ruled that the key and the map were proof of my management and maintenance of the core asset. In short, Chloe owned 50% of the wooden shack, but I owned 100% of the land it sat on. Legally, she couldn't stop me from tearing down the cabin, selling the land, or most importantly, charging her rent for her half of the shack sitting on my land. The revenge. I scheduled a final mediation meeting. Chloe walked in, clutching her music box, ready to deliver her rehearsed speech about family and legacy. I waited until she finished, then calmly pulled out the new legally binding deed, which now only listed my name for the land. Chloe, I said, you claimed you needed to hold on to this place because of sentimental value. But you lied. My lawyer confirmed you've been secretly renting it out every weekend this summer, taking in about $10,000 a month cash, and using that income to pay for your massive credit card debt, which I now know you accrued from that ill-fated cryptocurrency venture. She went white. How? I was desperate, Chloe. You made me desperate. So I did some digging. Your Save the Cabin rhetoric wasn't about Grandpa. It was about protecting your secret side hustle while watching me suffer. I slid a notice across the table. This is an eviction notice for your half of the structure. I'm selling the land to a developer on Friday. If you want your half of the cabin, you have 24 hours to pay to move it off my property. Otherwise, it will be demolished. She broke down, not in shame, but in genuine terror. She finally confessed that she needed the rental income to pay down a high-interest loan, and that she truly couldn't afford to lose that money. She admitted she had been cruel because she was terrified of being broke. I took a breath. My medical bills were still staring at me. That's a shame, I said, putting the deed back in my briefcase. Because I'm selling the land anyway. But if you're so desperate for cash, maybe you should have thought about the man who gave us both everything. I sold the land a week later for the full price. Chloe's half of the cabin was reduced to rubble. I used the money to start my treatment, and I've never spoken to her again. AITA,